Behold the Beautiful Dung Beetle by Cheryl Barrow, illustrated by Alan Marks. Somewhere in the world right now, an animal is lightening its load. In your backyard, on a nearby farm, in a forest, on a grassland far away. Animals take nutrients from the food they eat. Then, after their food is digested, they push waste out in the form of dung, also called feces or poop. Nearby antennae detect the scent of dung in the breeze. One animal's waste is the dung beetle's treasure. Dung beetles act fast when they sense the presence of dung. Protective top wings, called elytra, pop up. Broad flight wings frantically flap. Beetles race to the dung by the thousands. The first may arrive 15 seconds after the dropping plops to the ground. For these beetles, dung is a precious pile of food and drink. Bacteria live in the water that dampens dung, filling this fluid with protein and nutrients. Dung beetles use their paddle-like jaws to squeeze these rich juices out of the dung and into their bellies. The dung provides all the water and nourishment they need. All dung beetles scramble to get a piece of dung pat pie. Fresh from the oven. But each of the 3 types of dung beetles has a different way of enjoying the poop. Dwellers dig right in. Dwellers hurry to eat their fill before the feces that cause the fuss dry out or disappear. Rollers push perfect spheres of dung away from the throng. Rollers eat as they work, their jaws and legs moving non-stop to sculpt awkward clumps of dung into smooth spinning balls. Then they balance upside down on stout front legs and use their back legs to steer the balls away from the dung pat. They want this dung all for themselves. The largest rollers, which are about the size of tennis balls, can roll dung balls up to 50 times heavier than themselves. Tunnelers hoard their treasures directly below the dung pat. Tunnelers also eat as they work, stashing as much dung as possible in burrows beneath the dung pat. Females do the digging and make hundreds of trips to transport the dung deep underground. Males bring the females more dung and guard the entrances to their stockpiles against intruders. Competition can be fierce. Rollers engage in head-to-head combat to defend their dung and for the promise of finding a mate. Male rollers knock legs and heads to become a king of the dung mountain. Winners attract mates while losers flail on bulky backs. Tunnelers push and pry and twist and turn in the underground battles. Male tunnelers tussle to keep a burrow, along with a female and the dung stored inside. The bigger beetles with larger horns usually force smaller beetles out of nests and away from dung supplies. Females who spend most of their time making nests have either small horns or none at all. Dwellers scuffle to keep their seats at the table while the dung lasts. Dwellers feast on the dung pat even as others try to carry it or stow it away, but they don't fight to defend it. Being less choosy about the freshness of their dung, many dwellers simply remain at the buffet longer than other dung beetles. After mating, they lay their eggs right in the dung. Champions reap rewards. Male rollers speed away with a ball of dung and a female. Female rollers skitter along behind the dung ball, help pull it or catch a ride on it. When the rollers find soft soil in a secluded spot, they bury the dung. Some rollers divide their day's earnings into several brood balls, while some make only one. After mating, the female lays a single egg inside each brood ball. The male moves on to find his next banquet, while the female hovers close, cleaning harmful mold off each brood ball before it can reach the precious egg inside. Tunnelers mate and stash their eggs deep inside underground vaults. Tunnelers may create up to 50 brood balls in the tunnels of their burrow. Most lay one egg for each brood ball. Some stick around, eating extra dung from their stockpiles while tending their brood balls. Others seal the nest with soil and then depart, watching and waiting for the next meal to fall. The dung was once unwanted waste. Now it is fuel for new life. Buried dung enriches the soil. Plants draw nutrients from the dung into their roots, stems, leaves, flowers, and fruits. The dung will also supply nourishment for the beetle's offspring. Eventually, grubs hatch out of the eggs. They eat and grow and grow. Young beetles, called grubs, have enormous appetites. Roller and tunneler grubs hollow their brood balls. Dweller grubs eat dried up dung that adult beetles left behind. Later, as adults, the beetles will dodge birds, bats, and reptiles as they search for their next meal. But for now, whether above ground or below, the grubs are nestled in dung, which repels most predators. One day, the grubs stop eating and turn their energy inward. Their bodies transform. As a grub grows, its protective outer covering, called an exoskeleton, becomes tight and must be shed. After this has occurred several times, the grub becomes a pupa. From the outside, the pupa appears to rest. Inside, its legs, body, and head reshape themselves. When done, the pupa sheds its exoskeleton one last time and emerges as an adult. Just as butterflies emerge with wet, crumpled wings, adult dung beetles first appear as soft, pale shadows of their true selves. Little by little, they begin to shine. Brand new adult beetles are fragile. They remain safe in the dung until their elytra harden into shiny armor. Clad in splendor, dung beetles ascend into our world. They are ancient symbols of life and renewal. Ancient Egyptians were impressed with dung beetles, which they called scarabs. The orbs of dung that were rolled across the earth and buried reminded them of the sun traveling across the sky and setting into the horizon. Adult beetles crawling from the buried dung reminded them of the sun being reborn each morning. Behold, the beautiful dung beetle.